Howdy, howdy. Welcome on in to the pre-show before the free show.
What's up, nerds? So we've got, we've really only got, this is the last Tuesday show of the year.
Mm-hmm.
So the way, I guess we can tell you, we're going to do shows this week. Duh.
Mm-hmm.
We got a show Monday where we'll have a state championship vibe check. I have an idea that I think I need to rope Ish in on.
Okay.
Ish or Step, but I don't think Step can come in. But we need a third.
Okay.
And so I need to find, Mallory could do it.
I was going to say, if Ish can't do it, Mallory could.
Mallory could do it. We'll figure it out. Maybe a WTF
yeah.
TFT crossover,
How
the
about
crossover
that?
event of the season.
Many people are saying.
Yeah. So I've got an idea for that for next Monday. Then we're going to be at state.
Mm-hmm.
So normally, like, yes, there are no games on Tuesday, but like that's a big setup day for us, and we got to get everything, put together. And then after state, we will have a show on Monday, kind of recapping the state championship games.
Yeah, it'll be our mega recap.
Big recap
and
show.
And we do have both Ish and Mal both on that one. If
Yeah.
you'll remember back to our prediction show,
Yeah.
it'll be the same type of event.
So we'll do that. But then
recapping.
we're done. We're done for the year.
Yeah.
We're done for 2022.
All of our shows will be done for the year.
Yeah, because I got to go. I got to get in a rented minivan and drive to St. Louis for Crimbus. You are going to the Hill Country?
I am. Yeah. That after that Monday, I'm heading down to Houston for a couple days, and then I will go straight from Houston to the home base.
Okay. Gonna hang out in Burt.
I am gonna hang out in Burt. Christmas Burt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we've only got what 6 more episodes left of the year.
Yeah.
Oh. Does that make you sad?
No.
Okay. All right.
I've been here long enough to be honest.
You could have faked it and said, yeah.
No, I am very excited I will say this. I am very excited for the state recap show to do it kind of like another big production like we did for the prediction show. So I am excited to have one more big hoorah and then catch up on sleep.
Catch up on sleep. Yeah. That is for sure. And this is going to be the year that I don't lose my voice. I've already determined. I've got.
Well, I haven't had like a strong voice for the entire month of December into the last 2 weeks of November, so I'm not feeling super confident.
Okay, this is going to be the year. I bought a nebulizer.
Okay.
Like a personal humidifier with like a mask and stuff. I'm gonna have that. I'm gonna load up on the lozenges. I'm gonna talk at a normal volume.
Hot tea is the biggest thing. You have to keep drinking hot tea.
I'm gonna stay hydrated.
And carbonated drinks are not good either.
Correct. Yeah, that is bad.
Hot tea, no carbonation is kind of the way to go.
Yeah. And so but this is the year. This is the year that I'm gonna keep my voice for all 4 days. I am gonna be doing I won't say what or when, but like I am going to be doing some color commentary. And so thankfully that is earlier in the week than later in the week, because I feel like if they were to put me on the 6AD1 game, which like first of all, don't let me around an important game like that. They're all important, but don't let me around the big grand finale. If they were to do that, I'm not sure I could promise them that my voice would be 100%.
Yeah, it's too risky at that point.
And so I think they're just like, all right, we'll put you earlier in the week and see what happens. So.
Well, I guess there is something that we can announce. I don't have clearance to announce this, but we're just going to do it anyway.
Oh wow, okay. I don't know what you're talking about.
We are adding another aspect to the state championship things that we do at Dave Campbell's.
We are?
Uh-huh.
Do I know about this?
Mm-hmm.
How sure are you that I know about this?
110,000%. If you are going to the games in person, we will have in-game entertainment as well. We do, if you remember, we always do a kick for cash where they pick a student from each school to go down and kick a field goal. Well, we're going to be doing a lot more of that, and Mallory and I will be emceeing the whole time. So we are very excited for that. We'll have a whole little fan fest area, and
That's right.
If you are tired of hearing from the Women That Talk Football. I've got bad news for you because our face will be plastered on that giant video screen.
It's a tough
the
scene.
Entire 12 games.
Boy, it's a tough scene for the misogynists.
I was going to say.
T's and P's for the misogynists.
Yeah, they're going to go, oh, finally, I can go to a
get
game
away
and
from
get
these
away from
women.
them. And then it's going to be Mallory and I going, hey, UIL fans, here's our face on a giant video board.
Yeah, tough scene for sexists.
Yeah.
It's a big.
Don't you just hate to see it?
They're catching a big
L.
Man, they're catching some shrapnel. They're like, oh, finally, a safe space.
Yeah, so when ticket numbers are down, they're going to go, why are ticket numbers down? And Mallory and I are going to be looking at the camera like,
yeah.
But we're super excited for that. We've got some fun games planned.
Oh, you got bits?
So, yeah, we'll be up in the concourse, I believe, most of the time. So if you're there, you can stop by and say hi because we'll be on the concourse.
That's right. Maybe they'll put you on the big screen.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Games.
Okay. Very cool. All right. Hit the theme expo. Pickle! Hit the arrow sign. Yes, y'all. From the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Mothership here in beautiful Lewisville, Texas, it is Texas Football Today, a show on the internet. My name's Greg Tepper. I'm the managing editor of Dave Campbell's Texas Football magazine, texasfootball.com, a corresponding website. Thank you for spending part of your day with us, whether you're watching us live at texasfootball.com, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, all of the places, or you'll listen to the podcast, which you can subscribe to on the podcast vendor of your choice. Either way, thank you for doing your part. Support your local mediocre internet show. I am sitting over there at the helm today, making us sound good. She is the Duchess of the Dorks. She's Miss 305. She's Ashley Pickle.
Yo. Howdy.
Yo, indeed. Today is Tuesday, December 6th, 2022, 352 days until Thanksgiving. Happy birthday to Giannis Antetokounmpo, whose shoes I'm wearing right now.
I was going to say, that makes sense.
That is an accident. I promise you that is a happy accident. I'm just happy to be wearing my Giannis immortalities, and it's his birthday. Happy birthday to the Greek Freak. Episode 1512? 1511? 1511. On today's show, folks, we're going to catch up on the college football coaching carousel here in the state of Texas. We have had two vacancies, one of which has been filled, one of which was a surprise, and one of which was not. We'll talk about that, and then we'll be joined by the Hall of Famer Craig Way, as we do every Tuesday. I believe he's coming to us from a very special location. At least he told me he was going to. He hasn't replied to my text.
I genuinely don't know where that's at.
Okay.
So I'll be interested to
We'll hear from Craig Webb, talk all things state semifinals, and then the very end of the show, we'll be announcing the 10 finalists for the 2022 Mr. Texas Football Player of the Year Award. So we will be narrowing it down to 10 and opening up the voting for you, our fans. So stay tuned for that. Do we have first four through the door?
Yes.
Why'd you say it like
that? Well,
that?
I'll get to that in a second. Gus Garza, Jeremy Knight, Coach Terry Crawford, state championship bound, and Matt. Welcome.
Matt?
Matt.
Just Matt.
M-A-T-T. Matt. Welcome in, fellas.
There's no last name?
No, it's just Matt. And his comment was Taco Tuesday, which is exceptional.
Boy, Matt's
welcome in, Matt.
Gotta tell you, Matt's in the lead for listener of the day.
Sorry, y'all, all the rest of y'all came
boy,
in second.
That's an early, strong showing from the man with no last name.
No, I was confused because there was also 69xx.life was spamming us.
Oh, nice.
Hot girls here with a lot of emojis. So I was trying to.
Could you forward me that text?
No, I was trying to report them, and I did figure out that there's a button on here I can click that says put user in timeout. Y'all better watch out because I'm about to be putting a lot of you in timeout.
Oh, no.
I found that out, and that's why I was laughing. Put user in timeout.
Oh, wow. She's cracking the knuckles. Okay.
Don't twist my arm.
Be on your best behavior, folks.
Yeah, I found out I can put you fools in timeout.
All right, Pickle, let's talk a little bit about the college football coaching carousel, and we will go in chronological order of the way that all of these things happened. So we will start a couple of weeks ago. And a couple of weeks ago, Texas State became the first Texas FBS team to have a coaching vacancy, as Jake Spavital was fired as the head coach at Texas State. He was fired on November 27th. That is after 4 seasons where they went 13-35 overall, 9-23 in the Sun Belt. This is ultimately, I think what ended up dooming Jake Spavital was he took a big swing. Whenever COVID came around, I think that he looked around and said, all right, this is an opportunity to try to leverage the transfer portal for our best efforts. I think you see this a decent amount, and it used to be that it would be just JUCO transfers, that it would be we need to get old quickly, so we're going to go and pick up a bunch of JUCO transfers. He kind of took that to the nth degree in the new normal of the transfer portal and say, we're going to grab a bunch of guys out of the portal. And there is a certain element that I think I understand.
SMU does a really good job with that. In
the sense that I think his thought was, and I don't want to speak for Coach Spavital, I think his thought was, why would I go and recruit these players from high school if once they get pretty good, they're just going to transfer out anyway? Why would I become a farm system for other teams?
Yep.
And there's some validation in that, and I think that speaks to a larger issue that we have with the haves and the have-nots in college football. But in the end, it didn't work. And one of two things has to happen if you're going to go that way. Either you have to win, or you have to backpedal and try to repair the relationships. Because one of the things that it did was, I think it did not help him on the recruiting trail with Texas high school football coaches. Oh, you're the guy who doesn't come and recruit our guys. You're the guy who just goes to the portal. Now, I don't know if that's necessarily fair, but I think it's the reality of the situation. And the other thing is that he didn't win. Like, I know it's too cute by half, but he had 4 seasons and he won 13 games.
I'm going to be real honest that I think the most detrimental part of his entire thing, and I know that it put him in a tough situation, but his defense was always so bad, and that was under his brother's watch.
Part of it.
And I just think that when we finally started to see that offense pick up a little bit, we never once saw the defense to start picking up, and it's almost one of those things that's like, it's your brother, and that's what you run the risk of hiring him, but I think that was the biggest downfall.
I think that's part of it. I think that overall they just never found any sort of consistency, never any sort of identity. Like, you can say that, like, there are programs out there that may not necessarily be getting the wins, but they have an identity, and Texas State didn't have the wins or the identity. They were kind of like, what are we going to be this year? And so that's problematic. So they fired Jake Spavital after 4 years. It was then reported exclusively by our own Mike Craven and Ishmael Johnson that Texas State on December 1st was planning to hire G.J. Kinney. G.J. Kinney, the head coach at Incarnate Word. He is in his first year as the head coach at Incarnate Word. He is a former, I think it's worth mentioning, a former Dave Campbell's Texas football cover boy.
Yep.
He was on the cover with Earl Campbell and all those other high school quarterbacks when he was playing at Gilmer. A record-setting quarterback at Gilmer under Coach Jeff Traylor, which is rather interesting. He is known as an offensive whiz kid. He's known as kind of a hot young name. He was on the 40 on our 40 under 40 in the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine. He took over for Eric Morris when Eric Morris left to go take the job as Washington State offensive coordinator. From what we understand, the other names in the mix were Morris and Casey Keeler, the Sam Houston head coach. But in the end, it goes to G.J. Kinney. Now, there's a risk here, certainly, because he's only got 1 year of head coaching experience. and he's actually still in his first year of head coaching experience. In a very strange scenario, he got announced as the Texas State head coach, then went and coached Incarnate Word in the FCS playoffs on Saturday, and then went to like Texas State and did like photo shoots,
and was at the basketball game that night.
Did the basketball game, did like kind of the PR rounds, and then he went back to Incarnate Word to game plan for the game this week.
Yeah, they're into the third round of the playoffs.
He's 33. He is now the youngest head coach in Texas, youngest FBS coach in Texas, and he's a guy who was an assistant under Chad Morris at SMU. He went to Arkansas with Chad Morris before he was an analyst for the Philadelphia Eagles. He was offensive coordinator at Hawaii before going and being offensive coordinator at UCF before getting the head coaching job at Incarnate Word. The offensive bona fides are there. He is an offensive whiz. And I think that what Texas State is looking for out of him is kind of what they've been waiting for a while, which is get that quarterback. Like what he's doing with Lindsey Scott Jr., I think, at Incarnate Word, I think is what they're expecting him to do at Texas State. Get us a quarterback. Because at the G5 level, in the Sun Belt, if you got a QB, you got a chance. And Texas State, just plain and simple, hasn't had that quarterback. So the question is going to be, can he find that quarterback, and can he develop him and get things going in that direction? I will be very interested to see who they hire from a defensive coordinator perspective. I think that'll be critical to the holistic nature of the program. But the one thing is, like, think about the last 3 hires, right, of FBS coaches in the state of Texas, right? Joey McGuire at Texas Tech, Sonny Dykes at TCU, I know he was at SMU, but there, Rhett Lashley at SMU, and then and now G.J. Kinney. All of them have Texas bona fides. All of them. Lashley is probably the most of an exception, but I think he's still known. He had been within the program and at SMU for long enough to understand that he's got those ties. So that's the real coin of the realm here is, do you have those Texas ties? We'll see how it works out for G.J. Kinney there as he is the new head coach. And the other thing is, there's a guy who went and played for Tulsa, right?
Yep. Or
he so his first year at Texas, transferred to Tulsa, where he was a pretty darn good quarterback. He had a couple of years 5 years in the NFL, played in the CFL. Tulsa had a coaching opening as well.
Yeah, and that was the hot rumor for a long time, was that he was about to bounce there. He was a natural fit
for Tulsa. Now, I don't know who told who no, but I think that's interesting. Anyway, that's what's going on in Texas State. So now Incarnate Word is open. We do have a list up there from our own Mike Craven of some names that could be connected to the Incarnate Word job. Ryan Carty is a name to know. Ephraim Banda, the Utah State defensive coordinator, is a name to know as well. He played at Incarnate Word. So keep an eye on all of them. So there you go. We got that up on Texas Football.
He won't have to move far. That's for sure. A couple miles.
That's right. And then there was Sunday night. And Sunday night, kind of as a lightning bolt out of the blue, we got word that North Texas had fired Seth Luttrell after 7 seasons. Now, it's worth mentioning that the Jake Spavital firing at Texas State, hate to say it, not really a surprise. We had been hearing things for weeks about, hey, listen, this is probably going to be it for Jake Spavital, especially after it became clear they weren't going to make a bowl. Then I think they were like, all right, this is gonna do it for him. For North Texas, early in the year we were hearing rumblings, and then they started winning, and those rumblings went away, and the word we got was he was pretty safe. He was pretty safe. Seth Luttrell was. He was going to get another year. It's really interesting that Seth Luttrell gets fired for a couple of reasons. One, they did just play in the Conference USA Championship game,
which has an asterisk by it.
Did they play?
A little bit.
Did they play in the Conference USA title game or not?
They did.
You either do or don't, and that is, I think, an achievement that he can hang his hat on, right? So there's that. The other interesting thing about this, North Texas doesn't have an athletic director right now. North Texas is, look, Seth Luttrell's boss right now is an empty chair. Like, it's not, but you know what I mean. His direct report is an empty chair because Ren Baker left to go take the athletic director job at West Virginia. So they're looking for an athletic director right now. And that was another reason why we were thinking, okay, Seth Luttrell is probably going to be safe, at least for now. Maybe when the new AD gets hired, they say, you know what, I want to bring in my own guy. I'm going to ditch Seth Luttrell, bring in their own guy. But that figured it was going to come after an athletic director hire. Instead, it sounds like, and I know you have closer ties to North Texas than I do, it sounds like this was the president's call.
It was. It was Neil Simatras' call, the president of the university, which is exactly why I wasn't as shocked, I guess, as the rest of everyone seemed to be. Mm-hmm. From my take on it, I thought all year long that this was inevitable. Mm-hmm. I will say I think I was shocked that it came before the bowl game, but mm-hmm. I was not shocked that it happened. Say what you will about all of this. Seth Luttrell was a great head coach for North Texas. I'm not denying that at all. I was there during the pinnacle of those 3 years, mm-hmm. and it was a lot of fun. What he did for the program was great, but I also
He's the second winningest coach in program history.
I also knew that from my interpretation, it was realistically Ren Baker was the one really putting up the fight for him and putting up the shields. The donors weren't super happy, I don't think. I don't think the administration was super happy. And so with Ren leaving, I did wonder, was this going to speed up the process a little bit of doing this? You have to look at it from an aspect of they're going into the American Athletic Conference, and I just didn't see a way with how a lot of the important people felt about him and what had happened. I didn't see a way that they wouldn't start to wipe the slate clean, especially when the news that Ren was leaving. Then it was like, okay, this might seem a little bit, and I know
the bulwark is gone.
Yeah, and I know that there is a lot of opinion of there being unrealistic expectations and blah blah blah, and I'm not denying that at all. But I think that their reason, if you want what I think that the reasoning behind it was, is you can look at it like a normal job here. You have a goal and you surpass it for 3-4 years. Well, that puts a higher standard into place. Then maybe you have an off year. Okay. But the goal is to kind of get that back up to what it was. And I think that the biggest downfall for Seth Luttrell in my mind was the fact that the recruiting didn't seem to always be at the head of his forte, especially when you're in the talent-rich part of DFW. You have to be better at keeping those kids in your own backyard, and I felt like that always wasn't necessarily there. And then you go and we played a couple of AAC teams, and we got absolutely blown out. So it's kind of one of those things that I didn't see it as a surprise that they let him go. I really genuinely did not.
I think if before the season you had told me that Seth Luttrell was going to be fired at the end of the season, I would have been like, okay, yeah, that sounds right. I mean, I think he was on the hot seat last year before that late flurry that got them to a bowl game, and probably saved his job for a year there. I think that the details and context of it makes it a little more baffling, simply because they're like, who fired him? You know what I mean? Like this doesn't happen. The president doesn't come and fire the football coach. That just doesn't happen. But it sounds like this president, Neil Simatras, is pretty involved in athletics.
He is very involved in athletics. So that's the main reason why it didn't surprise me as much.
So he finishes 44-44 after his 7 seasons as head coach. He's the second winningest coach in North Texas history, and I think two things can be true. I think Seth Luttrell is probably the second best coach, at least in the modern era of North Texas football. Mm-hmm. There's a coach that I'm just patently unfamiliar with, Otis Mitchell, who had it was the winningest coach. He went 69-63 for 14 years from the 50s and 60s. As far as the modern era is concerned, in my opinion, it's him and Hayden Fry.
Yep, absolutely.
Those are the two. I think that can be true. Mm-hmm. And I can also say that I think that at North Texas, they want the standard to be higher. Mm-hmm. I think there are powerful people who are investing in the program more now and demand more results, and they want to be a G5 power. Is that realistic? I think there's a healthy debate to be had in the offseason about whether or not that's realistic. Mm-hmm. But that's certainly what the powerful people want.
Well, and
they want the tide to be raised.
Right, and I think that you're spot on with both of those points, and I think that that's why a lot of other stuff that I've heard, like I know Craven had said, that he has never heard of a fan base being so obsessed with bowl wins or postseason wins, if you want to call it. North Texas is 0-7 under the Seth Luttrell era. I have been at both conference championships, and we have gotten our doors blown off. This one was the most competitive one against UTSA, and then I think that that's a thing. Yes, how much stock do bowl games hold? Not a lot, but you have to start balancing out one or the other. If 9 wins is the standard that the unrealistic standard that people want to set, then if you're going to continue to be a 7-5 or a 6-6, you have to go into a bowl game and actually be competitive. Mm-hmm. And I think that the reason why North Texas fans are so obsessed with that postseason statistic with Seth never winning anything was it wasn't even the fact that they walked up and it was competitive. They got their doors blown off in every single postseason game that they ever played in. Absolutely destroyed in every single one. And I think that that's part of, you've got to do one or the other. If you're going to go 7-5, that's fine. Go out there and at least be competitive in the bowl game.
So we've got a piece up on TexasFootball.com with 6 names, I think, to know candidates to replace Seth Luttrell. Garrett Riley, the TCU offensive coordinator. Graham Harrell is a North Texas favorite. Everyone loves Graham Harrell.
They do. He was the OC when Mason was there.
It's because he's handsome.
Also that.
And TFT's own. Emmett Jones, a former Texas high school football coach who's now on the staff with Joey McGuire at Tech. Kenny Perry, who's also on the former Texas high school football coach.
On
the staff at Texas Tech. Joe Gillespie is a name to know. He's part of Sonny Dykes' staff over there at TCU, and then Justin Fuente, who was a TCU offensive coordinator before he went to Memphis, before he had a kind of an unflattering run at Virginia Tech. So those are a few names to know there for North Texas. We'll, of course, have complete coverage at TexasFootball.com. Our guys are working the phones, I'll tell you that much. So subscribe to Republic of Football. We're Texas Football Today. We're here every weekday at noon on TexasFootball.com, talking football in the Lone Star State. You can follow us on Twitter at TCTF, like us on Facebook, Facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. Follow us on Instagram, Instagram.com/Dave Campbell's, and of course, see us at TexasFootball.com. Now, a word from our friends at VCR Now.
Born and bred in Texas hits a little different, as it should. Texas loves doing business with fellow Texans. VCR Now takes its Texas roots as seriously as its many partnerships with schools and universities around the state. It's also why we're so proud to promote our brand in the pages of the Texas Bible, Dave Campbell's Texas Football, and on the airwaves of Texas Football Today. Driven by producing quality broadcast video, state-of-the-art audio, and LED video scoreboards at affordable prices, VCR Now makes sure to listen to your needs in its athletic department before recommending the next best steps. Building great products is our business, and it's our focus on building meaningful, long-term partnerships with our clients that sets us apart. From our 24/7, 365-day help desk, the training lab in our hometown of Red Oak, or our sports marketing business plan that puts money back in the hands of our athletic departments we support, VCR Now is built to last. Reach out to us today at info@vcrnow.com or by calling 855-GO-VCR-NOW. Again, that's info@vcrnow.com or by calling 855-GO-VCR-NOW.
Pickle, let's go to the hotline. It's Tuesday, which means
Tuesdays.
We are pleased to be joined for the final time this season.
Aww.
I know. By the Hall of Famer. You can hear him on the Horn in Austin every weekday from 10 to noon with Jeff Howe on Light the Tower. You can see him on High School Scoreboard live on Valley Sports Southwest, of course, the voice of the Texas Longhorns. We're joined by the great Craig Way. And Craig, why don't you tell people where you are right now?
Well, I'm at what is referred to, I don't know that everybody on earth would agree with it, but certainly up here they do. The world's most famous arena is what they call it. It's Madison Square Garden in New York. There is a college basketball game tonight between number 2 Texas and number 17 Illinois in the Jimmy V Classic. and that's all well and good. I look at it this week, Tep, as being this game is a really good palate cleanser for them going back to the heavyweight stuff of the week, the state semifinals.
Yes.
So it's good. And if this is to be my last pop on with you guys, we better make it worthy, right? We better make it worthwhile, make it stick. So
this is true.
although you won't see the end of me yet because we have more work to do together still on the TV side.
We've got plenty of stuff. We will be seeing and talking to each other plenty over the next 10 days or so, Craig. Okay, I want to go back to the state to the regional final weekend. And we mentioned off the top of last week that there were 12 rematches of games that we had already seen in the regional finals and then the six-man state semifinals there with Happy and Westbrook. Of those 12, only 3 teams avenged that earlier defeat to their previous opponent. It was Vandergrift beating Dripping Springs, it was Port Nature's Groves beating Marshall, and it was Malakoff beating Grandview. So only 3 of the 12 avenged that loss. Can we put to rest the notion of it's hard to beat a good team twice? Because it kind of seems like in Texas high school football, it's happening more often than not.
Yeah, and especially I think it can be overplayed when you're talking about 2 of those 3 you mentioned were non-district matchups very early in the season. Certainly, when you think about the fact that Malakoff and Grandview, that was a non-district game like they do every year. It's kind of getting like USC and Notre Dame, right? Those 2 play every year, and Vandergrift and Dripping Springs played a classic in the season opener back on August 27th, only to be exceeded by the classic they played last Friday night. But you're right. I mean, really good teams, if they know, sometimes, like I said, it's the devil and teams that you can handle. And in the case of the game that I called with Shea Walker, I mean, North Shore was uber impressive in dismantling a really good Atascocita team. Don't take anything away from Craig Stump's team, but North Shore did what they had to do, and they kind of largely dominated the game.
So we've now made it to the state semifinals. There are 40 teams left. 20 teams get to punch their ticket to AT&T Stadium this week. I think, in my opinion, there are 3 teams that I would categorize as maybe not Cinderellas, but certainly surprises to be here. I want to get your read on which one you think is the most surprising. Is it in 2A Division II with New Home? Is it in 3A Division II with Harmony? Or is it in 5A Division II with Port Nature's Groves? Which of those 3 teams are you most shocked to be seeing here in mid-December?
Since I'm in New York City, this is a city that there was a lot of in the late 50s and early 60s. They had a lot of the elevated jazz scene coming upon it. I always think of that one jazz guy who's always singing. He put words to a jazz riff, and it went over and over. Melody, harmony, harmony, melody, melody, harmony. It's harmony. For that team to have the start they did, the stumbles that they did, and yet turn it around and then get to 5-5, good enough to get them into the playoffs and get on a roll. The Eagles have been most surprising. And I know exactly why you omitted this other team I'm going to mention from the list. Mm-hmm. But, hey, tip of the hat to Brock for getting off the deck at 0-4. Weren't they your preseason choice to win it?
Yes, they were.
And getting off the deck at 0-4. And they played a tough non-district schedule, as we know, and we chronicled that on Saturday night. Wimberley was one of the teams, and they're a Final Four. I mean, they played a really tough non-district schedule, but Harmony, I think, has to be the biggest surprise. I would think, not only because of what they did to get to this point, but the eyebrow-raising results they've had to beat some of the teams they've had to beat, most notably in the last 2 weeks. West Rusk, followed by Newton, I think is most impressive.
Talking with Craig Way, the Texas High School Hall of Famer here on Texas Football Today. Get involved in the conversation at #TF Today. I want to go back to Port Nature's Groves and specifically their state semifinal matchup with Liberty Hill. I am of the opinion, I was scripting my picks video yesterday, and I got to this game, PNG and Liberty Hill, and I just kept scratching my head and agonizing over it with PNG and the Panthers. And part of it is because of the injury situation on Liberty Hill, which I think can only be described as freakish. Do you quite yet have a read on this matchup of purple powers here in the 5A Division II semifinals between PNG and Liberty Hill?
Yeah, there'll be some purple passion there on spilled out onto the field. It is unique. Here's what I think. I think that PNG is going to be able to move the football on Liberty Hill. Even in some of their most impressive wins this season, the Panthers have given up yards on the ground and through the air. And I do think the Indians will be able to move the football. Now, here's the wrinkle about Liberty Hill. As you pointed out, what a bizarre injury situation when they lose Noah Long and Joe Pitchford on the same play on their opening drive down at the goal line. They both go down on the same play with broken collarbones, a scoop and score that goes back the other way 99 yards. And then Liberty Hill turns around and puts 63 on them. And they had 7 or 8 different rushers in the ball game. They rushed for something like 560 yards. They truly have one of the popular overused phrases that we in the media like to use is stable a running back, stable a receiver, stable a quarterback. They got a stable, and they've got several different guys who can carry the football for them. So life goes on, and that offensive line anchored by the center, Jackson Harrison and Hudson Stillwell on the offensive front, those guys are the ones plowing the field for this bevy of running backs that Kent Walker continues to toss out. This is a fascinating matchup between these two.
I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about what I perceive to be the main event, and what I think is the biggest showdown of the weekend, and that's 3:00 Saturday in Houston at Rice Stadium in a title unification bout between Austin Westlake and Galena Park North Shore. Now, you are obviously intimately familiar with Westlake down there in the Austin area. I know you just called North Shore the game with their romp over Atascocita. First, I guess 2 questions. 1, is this your main event of the weekend? And 2, do you have quite yet a read on what matchups maybe you are most intrigued with in this showdown?
I do think it's kind of the main event, if only because we've been pointing to it for weeks and because of the state championship pedigree. Here's North Shore having won 3 out of the last 4. Here's Westlake having won 3 in a row. They were on the collision course a couple of years ago with Westlake winning in the semifinal round. Remember, North Shore beat Westlake back in 2015. So they each have high-quality wins against one another, as well as what they've done deep in their playoff runs. Massive respect for both programs. Westlake has just gone seamlessly in the transition from Todd Dodge to Tony Salazar, and North Shore has been a gold standard under John Kay. What the things he's done has been tremendous. I do think this. A lot of it will come down to Westlake's defense has just been on fire, and how will they do against David Amador with the way that he engineers that offense? If they need him to run, he runs. If they need him to throw, he's on the money. If they need him to flex out as a receiver, he can do that too. Neutralizing him is a big part of what Westlake will have to do on the offensive side. Now, I will tell you this, Westlake has changed quarterbacks. They went from Paxton Land, who got injured early, and to Brett Skinner, and then back to Land, and then back to Skinner, and they've gone back and forth. But the key to that attack is Jack Kaiser, their diminutive running back. And behind that big Westlake offensive front, can they do what Kansas State does with the Deuce Vaughn effect, where you get a more diminutive back being able to hide behind the pads of the offensive line and be able to break through? Largely, they've been able to do that. This North Shore defense will be, without question, and not even close, Tap, the best defense they've seen this season. They've seen some good ones. This will easily be the best defense. They've seen best defensive line, fastest linebackers, and the secondary is just dynamite. So that's where these tests are going to come. And then we're going to see what the condition of Jaden Greathouse is. He's had the injured hamstring. He warmed up last week but did not play for Westlake. Is he able to go this week? We'll find out. That could be a big factor as well.
So,
and it might rain. The coaches, the coaches at John Kay at North Shore and Craig Stump at Atascocita both wanted to flip, as they say. We know it's the zip code derby that they do in the coaching directory, but they wanted to put Rice Stadium up, not NRG. So it winds up being at Rice Stadium, and at 3:00 Saturday afternoon, there's a 40% chance of rain. And as we all know, 40% chance of rain means in Houston probably about 75%.
Correct.
So there's a decent chance there could be some rain in that game at Rice Stadium on Saturday.
So then here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be very rude, and I'm going to take away that game. Westlake and North Shore is off the table. But you have 19 other state semifinals that you can teleport to this week. You can only pick one. Which one is Craig Way heading to?
Wow. This is not a cop-out answer.
Here we go.
But I think it's the one I'm calling Friday night. I think it's Argyle and South Oak Cliff. I mean, you and I, they canvassed our opinion on what we thought might be the best Friday game to call, because Valley Sports Southwest had the way it was formatted and designed, it needed to be a Friday game, not a Saturday game this week. So it was like, what is the best Friday game? And you and I talked about it. And, you know, PNG and Liberty Hill is a great matchup. There's some other tremendous matchups, I think, as well in the lower classifications. But I think it's Argyle and South Oak Cliff. I think we're going to, you have the number one team in the state against the defending state champion in 5AD2. So I'm really looking forward to that one.
He's Craig Way. He's the Texas High School Football Hall of Famer. You can hear him on the Horn in Austin every weekday from 10 to noon on Light the Tower. You can see him on Valley Sports Southwest on High School Scoreboard Live on Saturday, and then all over the state championship games next week on Valley Sports Southwest. Craig, we appreciate your time, my friend. Have a great call tonight, and enjoy New York.
You know, sitting here in the press room, I expected any moment some guy to come walking in trying to, shush me or something. Go, hey, I'm on the air here. I'm talking here. Oh, but it's okay.
Perfect,
we're good to go.
Craig. We'll talk to you later, buddy.
All right, we'll see you.
There he goes, Craig Way, the Texas High School Hall of Famer.
Man, New York Craig is fun, Craig.
New York Craig.
That's next level, Craig.
New York Craig. Yeah, the Bronx Craig.
Bronx Craig. Hashtag Bronx Craig.
Hashtag Bronx Craig.
We need someone to call into the ticket and be Bronx Craig.
Get it trending, folks. We've got to get that going. So we appreciate Craig Way hopping on with us as usual. We're Texas Football Today. We're here every weekday at noon on TexasFootball.com, talking football in the Lone Star State. You can follow us on Twitter at DCTF, like us on Facebook, Facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. Follow us on Instagram, Instagram.com/Dave Campbell's, and of course, see us at TexasFootball.com. TexasFootball.com is where you can find complete coverage of high school football, college football, and recruiting all across the Lone Star State. Hope you'll consider becoming a Dave Campbell's Texas Football subscriber at TexasFootball.com/subscribe.
We got another thing to do,
I know,
and it's exciting.
Yeah, let's make some friends. So, Dave Campbell's Texas Football, the leading publication for all things football in the state of Texas, and the Tax Act Texas Bowl are proud to announce the 10 finalists for the Mr. Texas Football High School Player of the Year Award presented by Kroger. As a longtime partner of the Tax Act Texas Bowl and a proud supporter of Texas high school football, Kroger is teaming up with Mr. Texas Football as the award's presenting partner this year. Mr. Texas Football annually recognizes the most outstanding high school football player in the state of Texas. Each week, fans are given a chance to vote for the Player of the Week on TexasFootball.com. Voting for the Player of the Year ends at midnight on December 20th. That is, so it's really 11:59 p.m. on December 20th, I should be clear. And the winner of the 2022 Mr. Texas Football Player of the Year Award presented by Kroger will be announced prior to the Tax Act Texas Bowl, which will be played at NRG Stadium on December 28th, 2022. Featuring the Texas Tech Red Raiders and the Ole Miss Rebels. Last week, we unveiled the 25 semifinalists. That was hard enough. Now we've got to narrow it down to 10 finalists. And remember, you can vote for who you think should be the Mr. Texas Football Player of the Year at TexasFootball.com. Without further ado, the 10 finalists for the 2022 Mr. Texas Football Player of the Year Award. Starting with China Spring quarterback Cash McCollum, Denton Geyer quarterback Jackson Arnold, Dripping Springs quarterback Austin Novosad, El Campo running back Reuben Owens, Shiner running back Dalton Brooks, DeSoto wide receiver Jonte Cook, Silsby wide receiver Draylon Miller, Austin Westlake defensive end Colton Vasek, Galena Park North Shore athlete David Amador, and Timpson athlete Terry Bussey. There they are, the 10 finalists for the 2022 Mr. Texas Football Player of the Year Award presented by Kroger. You can vote on TexasFootball.com for who you think should be the 2022 Mr. Texas Football Player of the Year. It'll be announced prior to the Texas Bowl on December 28th, the Tax Act Texas Bowl on December 28th at NRG Stadium.
We knew it was going to be a crazy list, but like now that you have it like literally sitting in front of you, that's
it's a star-studded list.
That's insane.
It's a star-studded list.
It's good every year, but I mean,
this is
like nationally
and that's the thing.
recognized.
It's just so hard to narrow this down, guys. I promise you, it is like the hardest thing we do every year.
Yes.
Because
this and the cover, there's no two more tough decisions that we make.
This is the most difficult, like one of the most difficult things we do.
And the sample size is so much bigger that it probably is harder than choosing a cover.
Yeah, it stinks. but it's obviously something we're excited about. The 2022 Mr. Texas Football Player of the Year Award presented by Kroger. The 10 finalists there: China Spring quarterback Cash McCollum, Denton Geyer quarterback Jackson Arnold, Dripping Springs quarterback Austin Novosad, El Campo running back Ruben Owens, Shiner running back Dalton Brooks, DeSoto wide receiver Jonte Cook, Silsby wide receiver Draylon Miller, Austin Westlake defensive end Colton Vasek, Galena Park North Shore athlete David Amador, and Timpson athlete Terry Bussey. Vote on TexasFootball.com for who you think should be the 2022 Mr. Texas Football Player of the Year. Now let's go over to Ashley Pickle for America's second favorite segment, Final Thoughts.
We'll announce another thing that I have no idea if we're allowed to actually announce or not, but we'll do it.
Sure.
We
can say we're working on it. I don't know if it's locked and loaded right now, but we can say that we're definitely working on it.
Yeah. We are planning to do the subscriber meetup at UIL State Football again this year. If you remember,
breakfast, yeah.
I think this will be our third one. We started it in 2019, took off the COVID year, and then started it again last year, 2021. But we usually do it the Saturday of state championships before the big teams play. At Texas Live, which is, if you're not familiar with where it is, it's connected to Globe Life Field, which is right across the street from AT&T Stadium. So if you are a subscriber, be looking in your email. I know we are drafting it now for a link to sign up to come to the subscriber meetup. The entire Dave Campbell's team and those who will be joining us from Dave Campbell's Texan Live will be there, and you can meet, talk, eat, have fun.
It'll be fun. So we hope you will join us there. That's coming up next week. Big week ahead. So
it's crazy.
I guess tomorrow we'll do the top 10 plays of the week, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do that tomorrow. It's going to do it for us. Thanks for spending a little bit of your day with us. Follow us on Twitter at DCTF. Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/Dave Campbells. Follow us on Instagram, instagram.com/Dave Campbells. And, of course, see us at TexasFootball.com. Thanks again to the Hall of Famer Craig Way for being our guest. For Ashley Pickle, I'm Greg Tepper. Vince Young, please come get your Player of the Year trophy. We'll see you tomorrow on Texas Football Today.